So hi folks, welcome back to the channel. So today I'll be covering specifically on the instrument cluster and some of the capabilities and functions on it, and also the infotainment system. I've mentioned previously in the past that some of the capabilities and features, while they look the same, it may be different depending on which country and which specific model. So today we are looking at the Sealion 7 that is shipped version 1.0 in Singapore. Okay, so this is the UI for the Sealion 7. As you can see, there's a wallpaper there. You can actually change the wallpaper. You can obviously select the image that you want and set it as wallpaper. Alternatively, you have some wallpaper by default. Not my favorite, but you can see it all there. You can also change the theme depending on which theme you choose. Essentially, the icons are slightly different. Not too many. There's 6 of them. Okay, let's go through the pull down. So on the pull down, you have a bit of volume controls for the media, screen brightness, instrument cluster brightness. Oops, sorry. And then you can actually create or kind of edit the shortcuts if you like for vehicle control. I believe it's just tap and go. If you want to replace anything, I don't actually want to do that. So you can have up to 6 there, your usual suspects. You can also have other shortcuts on cellular data, connected devices, whatnot if you want. Not a whole lot. Okay, if you want it to be in dark mode, you can select it there. I prefer it in dark mode instead of the usual mode. Okay, swiping it up, pretty much like how you would an Android device. You can kind of kill screens if you want, or clear all in that case. Okay, you have some level of configurability here. These are all by default. You can't actually get rid of them, you see. Not editable, but you can actually add whatever cards that you want to add. As you can see, obviously I've customized it to my liking as it is. We have Bluetooth, Spotify. There's also another shortcut here for car. This is all by default. You can actually click car. You get your little fancy car here. You can change the color if you want of your car. See, that's my color. You can kind of flip it around a little bit, tap on it, and bring windows up and down. A little bit gimmicky if you ask me, but nonetheless it's there. Okay, a few more additional buttons here. So the big complaint previously was about seat profile. Now you can actually have seat adjustments. You can kind of click to lock in. So I've locked in my profile. If you have another driver, you can kind of select position 2 and lock that in as well. So this is a nice addition in recent time. I still wish they had, much like Tesla, profile specific, but yeah, I'll take this. No dramas. So usual here, open windows, fold your windows, ambient light, child lock, etc, etc. Okay, so there's navigation here as well. I believe this is Google Maps. Frankly, it's very, very basic. The good thing about this particular Google Maps is it's tied in with your HUD, so you get a little bit of animation if you use this particular map for navigation specific. I personally find it a little bit gimmicky. Of course, it's nice to have that in your HUD display, and also your instrument cluster, and I'll show you in a bit. But nonetheless, yeah, it's there if you want it. The navigation instruction, the voice specifically, it's very Chinesey. The grammar, it's not quite there. For example, instead of saying turning left now or please turn left now, you just go now turn left or now left, now right. So you get where I'm coming from. So not a big fan, but it's there if you wanted to. So here it's the audio system. So I'm currently connected to Android Auto. Of course, you can have Spotify or FM. Frankly, I found the FM not super intuitive, but in case you want to see it, it's there. But yeah, no dramas there. I put it on mute so you don't actually hear much. You can go to Android Auto. I have it connected at the moment. So I'm also having it connected to Waze, which is probably my preferred navigation option. I reckon it's the same for most people. Okay. So coming back up to the top here, you have quick menu. So this is the filtration menu. I'm not too sure how accurate it is. It's saying outside is 42, internally it's 5, so it's all good, very healthy inside. So from here you get quick access to seat ventilations as well. As you can see, you can tap on 1 and 2 depending on your needs and requirements. There's air filtration, which brings you back to here. Not quite sure what anion is. You can turn detection off if you want, and there's obviously purification, which is, I personally, I've not seen too much of a difference, but it is there. So the 4G right up here just shows the internal SIM card that's connected, and then here, oops, it's connection to your Wi-Fi if you have anything, Bluetooth connectivity, etc., and obviously time. Okay, coming back to the main page here, there's a whole bunch of shortcuts here as well. The ever famous screen turning of BYD, gimmicky again. I don't use it a whole lot. You can also have split screen if you so choose to have it. Okay, oops. And then this is the app drawer. So if you want, the app drawer is there and recently used. Should be fairly familiar if you're used to Android systems. And I actually like the quick access to AC, right? So you can make changes to your AC here if you need to very quickly, no need to fuss. Alternatively, you have the 3-finger swipe that is in the recent model. So swiping left and right to change the speed, and obviously up and down to change the temperature. Okay, so I'll make it a little bit cooler for me now. It's a bit warm. Okay, so alternatively you can kind of do it there. You can also have dual, where you can individually set on both sides, or you can check this off where every side is controlled manually. Okay, so that's that. Oh, one interesting thing, circulation. We can obviously have external circulation. I noticed something very interesting. So when you put external circulation, by default, when the car is in motion, it will take air from outside. But when you come to a light or you're stopped, it automatically goes back to internal circulation. So it's pretty smart. I kind of like that nifty feature. But of course, if you kind of put internal circulation, it will be internal all the time. But if you have it externally, when the car is in motion, it stays external, and when it's stopped, it actually circulates internally. I personally quite like that feature. So for now, I'll turn that off. Okay, coming back to the main page again, I think I pretty much covered quick access menu there. Oh, one more here, just a little toggle. So in case you're driving in the night time, you don't want the screen to be super bright, you can actually toggle this with the navigation. So you use that as the map as a default desktop. Alternatively, you can toggle that back on. Cool. So yeah, let's go to this little car icon here. That's where the bulk of the settings is. So under systems, you see under connection, you have Bluetooth, wireless LAN, hotspot, connected devices, and remote control being your remote app. When you get the car new, you get a QR code, you can scan it. Alternatively, depending on which country you are at, sometimes it's registered by an email address that you use prior to purchase. Sometimes it's by QR code. So in Singapore, it is actually a little bit of both, which is kind of odd. But nonetheless, yeah. So that's the cellular data, which is the internal SIM card. There is no visible SIM card slot anywhere in the car. I reckon it's probably somewhere behind the glove box. I'm not too adventurous to go look for it, and I probably don't need to anyhow. I've been made to understand if that SIM card is being swapped out, you may not be able to access a lot of BYD resources, and the remote app doesn't work. I understand the remote app is actually tied to the serial number on the SIM card as well. So putting on your own SIM card doesn't really make too much of a difference, and everything just breaks. So yeah, I'll leave that as it is. Going to audio, so you have the focus. Depending on whether you want the sound to come out from all four corners, driver specific, front passenger, only rear, or surround, or custom. So I've put it as surround. I like the sound kind of emanating from the center of the car, so somewhat. And then dyne audio is the equalizer if you need it to be. So yeah, volume adjusted with speed. It gets louder if you drive faster, usual stuff. Media volume, phone volume, ringtone, voice, navigation, similar stuff that you find in this pull down right there, right? So pretty straightforward. So display, obviously this display brightness, you can have screensaver designs. I've left it as that. Adaptive brightness mode, this is depending on whether you are light mode or dark mode, or you leave it as auto. I actually personally like the dark mode a lot more, so I left it as such. So the desktop, just saying the same thing I displayed earlier, whether it's wallpaper that you want as a default or map. Okay, so that's that. Version. So this is where it gets interesting. I mentioned it before. I'm not quite sure what versioning that is. So if I view here, that's the system version and the IMEI, the SIM card IMEI, whatnot. But that's actually not the version specifically for the car. If you click on upgrade here, you say go check version. You realize that for versioning, this particular car that is in Singapore, it's Sealion 7 Singapore specific version 1.0.0. I do know that, you know, for example, Atto has a different versioning as everybody else has a versioning. I've mentioned in my previous video, you would think that if you install a Windows, say latest version, you have version 10 or version 11 for Windows, and despite you installing on a HP laptop or Dell laptop, it's the same version, maybe just different drivers in the back end. You would think BYD would do the same, but obviously it doesn't. So what it does is that it has an operating system that it's tied to a specific model of the car, and perhaps also tied to the particular country. So in this case, this is version 1.0.0 for Singapore specific. So it's an interesting view. I might be wrong here, so leave me in the comments your thoughts if you're from a different country. But I do know in Thailand, this car got released earlier, and surely there are also version 1, and some of the UI on the instrument cluster is a little bit different from what I'm seeing in the Singapore version. Okay, so yep, nothing really exciting over here. Let's go to system. Your automatic time sync, time zone, language, keyboard setup, etc. Okay, let's go to apps. This is just much like most mobile phones, telling you a little bit about every app that's in the car, how much storage is left. As you can see, generous, 256 gig of storage, still quite a lot, 90 over gigs remaining, so no dramas there. Permission, notifications, yeah, very, very much like how you're used to on your phone. Okay, let's go to ADAS. Okay, so this is where all the capabilities are. I have left certain things on, obviously. Intelligent cruise control. This is similar to what you know very familiarly on Tesla as autopilot. Safety assist, lane keeping, blind spot, door opening, intelligent high beam, ESC, hill descent, parking brakes, lane departure, assist mode, or alert mode. So this lane departure, it's essentially lane keeping assist. I mean, you can set it as warning or prevention, or actually both. I didn't actually want prevention because I didn't actually want it to kind of steer me back. A warning is more than sufficient, and the warning could be sound, vibration, or both, and how sensitive you want it to be. Collision avoidance, what to do with it, how late or early you want it to be detected, cross traffic assist, traffic sign, etc., etc. So I mentioned in my previous video, when I first got the car, I had a massive sensory overload because it was just beeping non-stop every single time, and a lot of things they were beeping has a lot to do with some of the setups here, from speed limit to intelligent speed attention, intelligent speed limit control, and the likes. So I've switched some of this off to make it a little bit more bearable. You can probably do the same as well. Okay, this is where it's also different. I've seen videos on other BYDs like Seal, etc., etc., where you can switch it off. But when you turn the car back on, these are all auto-enabled back. Fortunately for us in Singapore, or at least with the Sealion 7, once it's switched off, it remains switched off. So that's a nice plus. Okay. So yeah, so this is a bit of an interesting one. ESC, you might think why it's off, because enabling this essentially says turning it off. Disabling it means it's on. So frankly, yeah, they could do a little bit better with the the labeling and renaming of that. But yeah, parking exists. Just so you know, BYD doesn't come with auto park feature, which you find in Xpeng, or maybe the paid version of the software upgrade with Tesla and some other cars. You would think that it's kind of table stakes, but it doesn't. Okay, so you have the AVM, which is the 360 video, and the parking sensors. Nothing really out of the ordinary there. Energy, that's where you have standard and high regenerative braking. So standard just being, yeah, standard. High isn't too bad as well. Regardless of whether it's standard or high, even the high, it's not even remotely close that level of jerkiness that you find in one pedal driving on Teslas. So this is one of my favorite things. It's very akin to how you would drive an ICE car when you release your pedal and it scales back. Okay, so range display, you can kind of put it as standard or dynamic. I've left it as dynamic. Charging, smart charging doesn't quite apply to us in Singapore because the rates are pretty stagnant. So this is something for those in countries where you have off-peak charging. Okay, AC charging limit, charge port immobilizer essentially is, you know, if you want to lock the charge port. Energy consumption. So, yep, as you can see, I am averaging about 15 kilowatt hours per every 100 kilometers. By default, for city driving, I think it's not too bad. Cumulatively, it's about 16, so it's between 15 and 16 for city driving. I haven't had the opportunity to go on the highways, interstate, so I wouldn't be able to tell. But based on some of the other videos I've seen, it's looking between 23 to 25. Coming to vehicle. If you like the soft feel, so steering, you can set it to comfort. Alternative, you can turn it to sport. Brake assist mode, similarly. You know, I'm doing this mostly ferrying kids around, so comfort works well for me. Comfort parking is essentially when the vehicle brakes, there is no jerkiness. It doesn't nosedive. So essentially a little bit more soft when it comes to reverse parking. I haven't really tried it off, so I can't make the comparison, but yeah, comfort might as well. So light, ambient light, you can obviously set ambient light for the entire car, or, you know, separately for front and rear if you wanted to. If you want it to be a little bit more disco feel like, you can turn it dynamic and it can constantly changes color. Rhythm ambient is supposed to work with the music. I haven't seen it really happen, to be fair. I'm not too sure if you guys had success using it. But yeah, it's a bit too much for me, so I've just kind of kept it as one color. Okay, I've generally just left this all as default. How many seconds entering and after, light signaling. You can preview how the welcome lights look like, so you can kind of click this on and go out and have a quick look. So yeah. Intelligent courtesy light essentially is the lights from the side mirror as you near the car with the key. Comfort driving, I've kind of pretty much set this all as default as well. Auto wiper, automatic driver seat. Automatic driver seat essentially is the seat for easy entry. So your seat kind of pushes it back a little bit as you open the door. Okay, auto fold, the mirrors fold, and if you want the mirrors to tilt while you reverse, that's there. HUD, if you want it on, I find it super useful. You can adjust the height and the brightness. Mode setting, classic to snow. The difference is just a flip of color. So instead of the default white, it just becomes blue. So yeah, nothing really interesting there. Instrument, this is an instrument cluster. So the instrument cluster, you can actually display navigation as well if you use it. So I'll just put it here and I'll show you in a bit. And always display mileage. You want your odometer or trip A, trip B, it's already up to you. AC, you can set it eco mode or comfort mode. You can also set remote start. So if you're setting up remote cooling down the car, how long you want it to run, so you can set it between 10 and 30 minutes. Yeah, nothing much else to configure. Seats, we talked a bit about seat adjustments, ventilation, so essentially it just leads to that screen. Locks, So yeah, digital key. I currently have 2 phones connected to it, my wife and mine. So if you want that, that works too. You can set tailgate opening height, how long before the handle itself collapses in if you don't open the door. Remote unlock, what it does, it's all here. Auto close window in rain, auto close after locking, after close at high speed, etc, etc. Okay. Notification, I pretty much left everything as standard. Vehicle prompts down, that's just interesting. This, I believe, is a signal sound, so let's try standard. Oops, wrong one. Not sure if you guys can hear it. Yeah, so if you want something funky, you can go for brand signaling. I'll keep it at standard for now. So prompt volume, I like it to be, you know, low. Don't want to be too disruptive. And yeah, nothing much. Intelligent voice assistant is actually the hi BYD.
I'm listening.
There you go. So I find it to be very limited in most cases. It doesn't do a whole lot, to be fair. If you want to know what you can do with it, it's under voice skills, and there's some stuff here on vehicle control Bluetooth. Frankly, I found it to be pretty useless, at least for now. Maybe when the time comes where they integrate DeepSeek into it, it becomes a little bit more useful, but now, yeah, not so much. I actually end up using Google a lot more, and you can trigger Google using Android Auto, and do a whole lot more with that. Okay. Cabin perception, these are the little cameras that, you know, triggers when you start to yawn or you look away from your steering wheel. So it's all there. Okay. So yeah, going down to service, this is just setting when is the maintenance period of your car. So you can kind of set by default. So my sales guy actually set for the next X amount of days and 5,000 kilometers to do the first initial check. So you can kind of do the same here if you want. So it's all manually adjustable there. So yeah, I think that's essentially all that is. Let me go back to the main screen and see if I missed anything. So yeah, so that's pretty much the high level of the infotainment system. So let's have a quick look now at the instrument cluster. So here's the instrument cluster, as you can see. Fairly similar with most of the other BYDs. So right at the top there, you have northwest. That's the direction that the car is facing. Obviously the time. Car condition, okay. That's pretty self-explanatory, I guess. The next one there, it's where you have the 70 there. That's the speed limit. So if you trigger ACC, which is cruise control, that turns blue to show that it's enabled. Obviously the speed right in the center, and then there's a little steering wheel with 2 lines at the side. That's actually ICC. So when it's engaged, that actually turns blue. And P obviously in park, and standard being the Regen. So if I change the Regen to a different level, it shows high, so that's high Regen. It's showing 40 degrees outside. Frankly, I don't actually think that's accurate. It's a little bit over estimated, I would say. So yeah, pay little attention to that. Far right is actually Android Auto enabled. And then you will see on the left hand side here a whole bunch of tire pressure sensors. You can actually change this. Let me see what we have. So it shows past 50 consumption, past 50 kilometers, or cumulative. Okay, and that's pretty much it. Very limited. You can't change a whole lot. Then obviously you have a battery, how many kilometers range. It has a little bit of visualization of cars in front. Not super accurate. It's probably good for, you know, 2 or 3 cars in front. Unlike Tesla has got a better field of vision to the left and right as well. So yeah, don't kind of expect too much out of that. So that icon there is actually the blind spot monitors, and then that there is the automatic lighting. And here it's interesting. So this is actually lane keep. It's very misleading because it shows amber as if lane keep isn't enabled. But let me see if I can show you the HUD. Let me just zoom in. If you can see the HUD, it's showing up as blue and it's enabled. But coming back to here, it's showing it's disabled. So yeah, that's the little inconsistencies that you see with BYD every now and then. The amber here is essentially showing that it's not in preventive mode, it's just in warning. It's not that it's disabled. So they could do a better job at showing the representation of how it is. Then you have the ones here on the right. Let me see if I can change it. At the moment it's in map mode, so if I can change it, you can do that whole time speed limit timer, and what's being played on your stereo system. So if it's being played through Spotify or radio, it will show up here. Otherwise, yep, that's map mode, nothing much. And then right at the bottom here, it shows how many kilowatts you are currently consuming. So assuming that you're accelerating, obviously it's consuming some power, and when you decelerate, regen braking, it shows negative value, so it's charging back, and if you kind of hit the brakes, it charges even more. And that's the odometer, which is about close to 500 kilometers I've done since I've got the car. Okay, so one thing I mentioned in the past about inconsistencies. So if you look at this icon here and this icon here, you would think that it always show up at the same spot. But I've noticed that a few times when I've driven it, occasionally this icon appears here and this icon appears at the bottom. Or there have been instances that this icon and this icon lives on the right hand side. So it's bizarre how this screen actually functions. I have no idea how it decides where to place icons on the left or right, but it's happened a couple of times. So it's just little inconsistencies like that which I think yeah, BYD could do a better job in just making things standard. Hopefully the video has been useful for you guys to kind of understand what are the features available on version 1.0 on the Sealion 7. As and when OTA's update come about, I may do an update on it and just highlight some of the differentiation. But till then, like, subscribe, leave me a comment and on what your thoughts are, or maybe what I should be covering in the next video. So yeah, till next time.